Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. In today's video we'll go over one of the most powerful decks you will ever see. And of course, I'm talking about Green Kinemon. If you want to see us make more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot and notifies you when we upload. Let's get into the deck. So, Green Kinemon, 5 life, 5k power. Activate main once per turn. When you have one or less characters in play, reduce the play cost of the next 3 cost or higher 1/0 country type character card you play from your hand by 1 during this turn. This is really powerful, especially if you go second, because then you can play some 3 cost characters for 2 cost on your first turn basically, allowing you to get some blockers or attackers really cheap, really early. It's just a great leader in general. So for the next card we have Izo. Counter plus 2000, 3 cost, 3k power. On play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 4 or less. Say you've just been, board wiped, essentially. You can then play this, rest one of their blockers, and just get a free swing for 2 cost, which is just insane late game. And it's a plus 2k counter, so even if you just leave it in your hand, it's still good. So Okiku, 3 cost, 5k power, no counter. Don times 1, when attacking, once per turn, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 5 or less. This is insane. Literally, your first turn, if you go second, play this, you've got a 5k attacker next turn. 6k if you want to use its effect to dull like a chopper blocker or something like that. Just because they get really annoying, especially against red decks when they just build it up and constantly get a bunch of blockers out. This card's just going to swing straight through them by being able to rest them. So I do only run 2 of it in this deck, unfortunately, but it's so that I have space for more cards which also stack on top of this effect. Next we have Killer, counter plus 1000, 2 cost, 2k power, blocker, Don times 1, on block, if you have 3 or more characters, draw 1 card. It's nice. It's not too useful, but if you don't have the hand that you initially wanted, you can always just Don times 1, block, just so that you get an extra card in hand. Can be useful if you draw onto a Yamato, an Odin, or an Izo, just because those 2 are really good cards in general, but the Izo's plus 2k counter, which is always useful. I run 4 of it in this deck just because it's nice to have a lot of blockers, and it's an alright card. Next we have Kozuki Momonosuke, counter plus 1000, 1 cost, 0 power, activate main, dual 1 Don. You may rest this character. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 1/0 country type card and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This card is a very useful searcher, especially to get to the Odins or Yamatos, like I said. You can also draw onto the Okikus or the Izos and stuff like that. However, I do only run 2 of him because he's not too useful. The opponents are probably just going to kill him first turn anyway, or at least attempt to unless you have a blocker. So he's not really worth drawing too much, plus you run a lot of the cards that you want like in big numbers like the Yamatos running 4 of. So I only run 2 of this card, but you could swap something out to add a few more. I wouldn't recommend it though. Next we have Cat Viper, counter plus 1000, 2 cost, 3k power. On play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. This card is essentially just a worse version of Izo, especially because you can play Izo for 2 cost using Kinemon's effect. So it's not too useful, but just in case you late game need to duel one of your opponent's characters, it can come in handy. I do only run 2 of it in the deck just because, like I said, it's not too useful unless you really are in that sort of situation. Then we get onto some of the interesting cards, such as Eustace Captain Kidd. 8 cost, 8k power, no counter. Don times 1, opponent's turn. If this character is rested, your opponent cannot attack anything other than characters named Eustace Captain Kidd. Activate main once per turn. You may rest this character. Play up to 1 character card with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. So you can rest him, play a Okiku or an Izo, and then add a Don to him and make it so they have to attack him, which comes in incredibly handy, especially late game. But it can also kill you, because if you want to play this card, it'll stop you playing either some of your blockers, your Okikus, your Izos. Yes, you can play one off of using his effect, but that's only one. So it does limit the amount of stuff you can play in that turn. I would recommend only playing it if you need a guaranteed, like, if you've got basically stuff to counter out or block, so they can't kill the kid card. So I run 2 of it in this deck just because it seems to be like, it's not that it's bad, definitely in no way, shape or form is it bad, but you can also draw onto it with your Bonnies and stuff like that, and it's one of those cards where you don't want to run too much of it, but you don't want to run too little. So I run 2. Next I have Raizo. Counter plus 1000, 3 cost, 4k power. When attacking once per turn, if you have 2 or more rested characters, draw 1 card. It's nice. Although if you want to be able to swing at the leader, you need to waste one of your Dons. Plus you have to have 2 or more rested characters. So it's one of those cards where it's nice to just be a counter, but also has an effect that could be useful in certain scenarios. That's why I only run 2 of it. Then we have X-Drake, one of the best cards. It's just a shame that it's a cost of 5. It's got a counter plus 1000, power of 6000. On play, KO up to one of your rested characters with one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 4 or less. Now, I wish I could use Kinemon's effect to play it, but unfortunately it's a Navy, Drake Pirate, Supernova, not a Wano country. So, that's a bit annoying. But still, you play Izo, rest one of their characters, play X-Drake, KO it. It's really simple, really useful, but for 5 cost, I mainly usually just use it as a counter. However, I have needed it in some scenarios, so I run 2 of it in the deck. Next is the most broken card I've saw. So, Yamato, counter plus 1000, 5 cost, 5k power. This card's name is also treated as Kozuki Oden, which is very important later on. Double attack, so this card deals 2 damage to life. Banish, when this character deals damage, the target card is trashed without activating its trigger. That's talking about life as well. So, this is an incredible card. Your second turn, if you go second, use Kinemon's effect, because it's a Wano country type card, play this for 4, then next turn, attach all 6 to the Yamato and swing. Right? Unless obviously you've got a blocker on field, then you can probably play an Izo for 2 and attach 4 to that and attack 9k at their 5k leader. It's absolutely insane, because then you can do double attack, doesn't activate any of their triggers, it just goes straight to the graveyard, their life. It's broken. It works so well against Katakuri, Big Mom, any yellow deck, as well as just any deck in general. However, if you're playing against a Rebecca deck, they will most likely get rid of it the turn it is played with a 3000 Worlds or Gungan Red Rock, which can be quite annoying, but I have a way to stop that in a bit. So I run 4 of it in the deck, which is a no-brainer, of course. It is literally the most overpowered card you will ever see. So yeah, 4 of that in the deck, must have. This one is not something that you want to be changing out for anything else. Next I have 1 Kozuki Oden. 8 cost, 8k power. Activate main once per turn. 3 Don, or rest 3 Don. Set this character as active. On KO, play up to 1 Wano country type character card with a cost of 3 from your deck. Then shuffle your deck. So this allows you to get a Kiku or Izo out for free if it dies. But then plus you can restand it by paying 3. Which is just mental, especially because it's an 8k power. Like, you attach 10 Don to it, or 7 Don to it, swing for like 15k at their leader, then tap 3, restand it, swing another 15k, then swing 5 with your leader. It's genuinely like broken. They're not going to be able to survive, especially if you have a Yamato out as well, because then earlier on you'll be just swinging and swinging, getting rid of all their life. By the time you play this, it's over. I do only run one of it, which is why I do have to rely on my Momonozukes, just so that I can draw onto it. However, it's not too needed, because Yamato is the main hitter. So yeah, I do only run one of him. Next we've got Kozuki Toki. If you have a Kozuki Odin type character in play, this character gains blocker. For a 1 cost counter plus 1000 0 power, this is amazing. Literally, play the Yamato second turn, play that, because Yamato is treated as Kozuki Odin. You can play that and get a free blocker, so you can save the Yamato. It is amazing, it works really well. However, it's still a 0 power blocker, so it's not too good. I do only run 3 of it in the deck, opposed to the killer, which I run 4 of. Next we have Yamato, one of the best ones. No counter, 4 cost, 6k power. This card's name is also treated as Kozuki Odin. On play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. The only character that he can't really rest, well, blocker that he can't rest, is the Green Luffy film from OP02, because that's 7 costs. But every other blocker your opponent is playing, you can rest that, especially when using Kinemon's effect. Play that for 3 costs and rest it. It is so brokenly good. That's why I run 4 of it in this deck. Next we have Don Quixote do Flamingo. 10 cost, 10k power. On play, a total up to 3 of your opponent's rested characters or leaders do not become active during your opponent's next refresh phase. Such a broken card. It sees play in almost every green deck, even if it's just 1 or 2 of them, just because making it so that they can't stand 3 of their characters is insanely overpowered, especially because it doesn't have to be a Don Quixote pirate leader. You can literally just play this in any green deck you want. So it is a definite must-have. I do only run 3 of it though, because I feel like 4 and you're running too much. You really want the game to be over quickly rather than later. This is just like a backup card. So now this is one that I added to counter blue decks in particular. Don Quixote Rosinante. 8 cost, 8k power. Opponent's turn. If this character is rested, your active characters with original cost of 5 cannot be KO'd by effects. On play, you may rest this character, play up to 1 green character card with a cost of 5 from your hand. So, I do only run 2 of this, because it's not like you're going to be playing against Rebecca or anything like that every single game, so you don't want too many. But, say you are playing against Rebecca, and you manage to get one of these in your hand. You want to wait until you have 8 costs. Unfortunately, you can't use Kinemon's effect, because obviously it's not a Wano country. But you want to spend 8 on, play a Yamato from hand. When that's rested, it can't be KO'd this turn. So, opponent's turn. So, they can't use Trueno Bastardo or anything like that to KO the Yamato, which is just amazing, especially when like you're playing against obviously blue decks and stuff like that, because it stops them being able to get rid of the blocker Yamato so easily. They have to actually think about what they're doing. Like I said, I do only run 2 of him because he's only useful against those decks. Otherwise, you just want to be playing the Yamatos as early as possible. So, yeah, it's overall a good card, but only in certain scenarios. Next, we have Capone Gang Beige? Forgot to say it. No counter, 1 cost, 1000 power, blocker. Simple card, really easy, really effective. If you don't have anything else that's really good in hand, or if you've been forced to go first by your opponent, playing this first turn is amazing. Just being able to get a quick, easy blocker out. It's the equivalent of the red chopper blocker from most red decks. So, yeah, it's a good card. Only run 3 of it. It's not too useful, but it's still a blocker, so you're going to want to run at least 3. Probably you could probably get off with 2, but I would definitely stick to around 3 or 4 of them. Of course, next we have Jewelry Bonnie. Counter plus 1000, 1 cost, 1k power, activate main, rest 1 Don, you may rest this card, look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Supernova type card and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. This card is the equivalent to the Momonosuke, but for Supernova type cards. This is really good when you realise that Killer and Beige is a Supernova, so you can draw onto both of those, which is nice to just get a blocker in hand for 2 Dom basically. You could also draw onto a X-Drake or a Captain Kid, or so it was just some really good cards. I do only run 3 of it because, like the Momonosuke, I don't really want to be having too many in the deck to where I'm drawing too many of those searchers because they're not too important for this deck. So this is also a really good card. I only realised how good it was when I played against Green Purple Dofi. Counter plus 2000, 2 costs, 3k power. Don times 1 when attacking, rest up to 1 of your opponent's Don cards. Now, Green Purple Dofi usually has to keep up at least 2 Don because at the end of the turn it sets 2 Don as active. So they always have 2 Don as active during your turn. But if you've got this out, attach 2 Don to it, swing 5 at the leader, they can't use their event cards in their hand, which is just broken. It gets rid of the leader's effect basically, because you can just then do this so they can't play the event, attach all the rest of the Don to Yamato, swing with the Yamato, do double attack to life, and you're set. There's nothing they can do. Now, I did take one of these out, so I only play 3 now, but I have saw decks of Kinemon where they play 4, just because it's a really good card, especially with it being a plus 2k counter as well. But I don't think it needs too much use like Rosinante. It is a card which is specifically against certain types of decks, like red decks or Green Purple Dofi. Just because red decks like to use Guard Point, which is 1 Don, so if you play this you can stop them from using Guard Point, which can be useful. So next we play Basil Hawkins. No counter, 5 cost, 6k power. Don times 1, once per turn, your turn. If this character battles opponent's character, set this character as active. So that allows you to swing 7k at one of your opponent's characters, then restand this card, and then swing 7k at the leader basically. So you can get rid of one of their cards and then swing 7 at leader. It'd be even more broken if you found a way to give this the effect that you can attack active characters, but so far there is no effect that could do that for green characters. Unless maybe if you played this in a Isho deck, because that is green-black, and I know that Gaius allows you to attack active characters, so there is some possibilities in other decks. However, for Kinemon, this is all you've got. Now, I only run 1 of it because it's really not that useful unless like you're desperate, and if you really need to, you can use your Jewelry Bonnies just to search for it. So yeah, it's just run at a 1 of. You don't really need more, you don't need less. And then finally, we've got the event. Punk Gibson, 2 cost, counter. Your leader or up to 1 of your characters gain plus 4000 power during this battle, then rest up to 1 of your opponents with characters with a cost of 4 or less. Trigger, rest up to 1 of your opponent's characters. Now this is also a Supernova, so it can be searched by Jewelry Bonnie, and I run 3 of it just because getting it as a trigger is really nice. Say you're playing against like Katakori, they play their 10 cost Big Mum, they manage to swing with something, you get Punk Gibson, you can then use its trigger to rest the Big Mum, and then you can on your turn attach all 10 or 5 or however many you feel like you need depending on their hand size. You can then just attach that to a character and swing. Get rid of the Big Mum, get rid of their biggest power that they were planning on using the turn after. It's overall, Kinemon is a really good deck. It is so brokenly overpowered. I just need more practice with it. that's my thing, because I lost the tournament, my local tournament. Came second place. I just couldn't beat Green Purple Dofi, who I played against for first place. However, now I'm starting to practice with it a bit more. I'm starting to understand it. Like, I did not realise how good this card was, and now I do. And I wish I'd have used that, because I was just using it as counter plus 2,000 in my local tournament. And now that I look back at it, I could have used this effect to win me the game. But either way, this deck is really good. If you want to see me play a few matches with it, the link will be in the description. Go check it out. See ya.